So what do we have here today? Well, as you all know, I've never done a pickup review ever. Not that I didn't want to, I just never got my hands on one. This has been a long time coming, but every time I tried, something kept it back, rain falling, couldn't make it that day. But finally, it's gonna get done. Now the P-series comes in three variants. There's the Elite for $269,950. Now even though it has Elite in the name, that's technically the base model. Then one trim up from that, you have the Ultra, which is $349,950, which is the fully loaded. But then when you put the off-road package on the Ultra, you get the P-Series off-road, which is $319,950, and that's the one we'll be taking a look at today. Now, even though the GWM P-Series is new to our market, if you do a little searching up, you'll realize they have been killing it in other markets like South Africa and Australia. I know people like to say that we have harsh climates down here, but I'm not sure if you all have seen South Africa recently. Our climates may be harsh in dry season, but it's nothing like the Karoo over in South Africa, where it's legit a full-time desert. But don't take my word for it, go and see how it performs for yourself. Starting with the front, you have an all-LED headlight assembly, daytime running lights, high beam, low beam, and sequential turn signals. This is what your daytime running lights look like when you see them up close. They have a kind of C-clamp shape to them. These lights aren't too aggressive, but at the same time, they aren't dorky looking. So it's right in the middle. It's functional. They didn't go overboard, they didn't over-engineer it. This is the front here. With the P-Series off-road, you have a steel bumper to the front and one to the rear, but we'll take a closer look at that later on in the video. Also, with the off-road package, you have the snorkel, which is standard on vehicles that are built to go off-roading. But while talking about off-roading, let's talk about ground clearance and wading depth, as in the amount of water you can drive through. You have a maximum ground clearance, the lowest point of the vehicle to the ground, of 232 millimeters, and you have a wading depth of 900 millimeters, which means you can drive through almost 3 feet of water. If you can visualize what 3 feet of water is like, just visualize just a bit less than that, you can drive through safely. In its current configuration, you have an approach angle of 27 degrees and a departure angle of 25 degrees. You also do get a roof rails, power folding mirrors with turn signal repeaters and a 360 camera attached to it. You also do get the side steps on all models. Don't play hero thing and feel like you're just jumping if it's short like myself. Use these side steps, they come in very handy. In terms of fuel, it's a diesel vehicle. It has a total fuel tank size of 78 liters, which is $343 to fill, but that's from fumes. Most times you'll have at least 3 liters, 4 liters in your tanks. Around back, you have clear rear tail lights. This is what it looks like when they are off. Now, even when they are off, they look pretty cool because they have that clear casing over it. But when it's on, it actually looks better. You have a top element and a lower element with the indicator in the middle. And you also have that same type of C-clamp shape that the daytime running lights have. Looks pretty cool. Moving to the tailgate itself, on the tailgate, you have your handle to open it, obviously. Below that, neatly tucked away, you have your reverse camera. Below that, you have your GWM logo. Then you have your steel bumper at the rear as well. On the steel bumper, you have your left and your right reflector. You have 2 tow hooks, one on the left, one on the right, and you have a tow bar in the middle there. Then, on either side of the steel bumper, you have these steps. So you can put your foot up to get into the tray. Now the tailgate itself has struts on either side, so you don't have to worry about letting it down gently. You don't want it to fall down and break something. Just pull it, let it go, and it will open gently. As simple as that. As you can see, the tray liner comes with it. It's already there. You don't have to go and pay extra, or not. It's already there. So you just buy it and you can load it up right away. Now on the tailgate itself, you have this black compartment right here. You can't miss it. It literally says push. You push it, it pops out a bit, and then you pull it down the rest of the way. So now you have a next way to get into the tray when this is open. So you can either use the steps on the bumper itself, or you can use this step here. When you're done, you push it in, and you just lift this up and you close it. But getting into the bed itself, I'm going to put the dimensions on screen right now. But as you can see, it comes lined already, and you also have the bar on top here also installed from the showroom. So how it is here is how it comes. You don't have to go and spend extra to get it lined and to get this bar on top here installed. That's it for the outside of the P-series. Now let's take a look at the inside, starting with the rear. On the door, very top, you have soft touch materials on top, soft touch in the middle, but below that part, like where the cup holders are, hard plastic, obviously, because you want hard plastic down there. Inside, you have leather seats, front and back. Now, I won't tell you that the rear seats are so comfortable because rear seats in pickups are usually just rear seats in pickups. They are not meant to be this luxurious thing. You have no recline to them. They're not heated or anything. It's just rear seats in pickups. So it's not uncomfortable, but it is comfortable at the same time. You do have rear airbags at the back here, so in case worse comes to worse, rear passengers are protected. You also do have a light directly overhead. Unfortunately, it's not LEDs, but you can swap out that for an LED bulb very easily. And because this is a vehicle that was meant to be put to work, you also have an AC 220 volts, 120 watt max power outlet next to your USB charger at the rear. So you have your USB outlet on the right and your power outlet on the left. You can power small tools. If you're on a camping trip, you have small appliance, you can power it from right here. Just above these, you have your rear AC vents. Moving to the front, starting with the door panels, just like the rear, you have a mixture of soft touch at the top and the middle, hard plastic at the bottom. So down low where your cup holders and your bottle holders are, this is hard plastic. But above that, where your controls are, where your elbows would rest, in the middle there, soft touch materials. And above that, it's a slightly firmer material, but it's also soft touch. If you push it, it actually has some give to it. In terms of front seats, you have the same leather material that the rear has, but the front seats are heated. And also the driver has a 6-way power adjustable seat and the passenger has a 4-way power adjustable seat. On the side of the steering wheel, you have your typical lighting controls and mirror controls found in most vehicles. This is the mirror controls over here, open, close, left, right adjustment. Then you have some lighting controls at the bottom here and a small pocket. When it comes to GWM vehicles, you know they're going to pack it with features. Some may have less than others depending on the trim, but in this one, the fully loaded off-road model, you have adaptive cruise control, lane departure warning, lane keeping, lane center keeping, forward collision warning, auto emergency braking, traffic sign recognition, ABS, electronic brake force distribution, traction control, rollover mitigation, brake assist system, hill assist, hill descent control, you have a tire pressure monitoring system, 360 camera, airbags. You have 7 airbags in all, smart entry with push to start, and you can also start the van before you reach it using your key fob. So you have all the features there to keep you safe. You have your airbags, you have your collision mitigation, your automatic braking, adaptive cruise control, everything. Now when it comes to the fit and finish, it's the same as the door panels. You have soft touch materials on top, so the entire dash is a type of soft touch. If you push it hard enough, you can feel there's some give. You have this carbon fiber-ish pattern going on there, and you have something I really love. Your infotainment is where infotainment is supposed to be, not on top of the dash like an iPad. It's right here, down low, out of sight. Most vehicles need to go back to this. Go back to having it down here and not just tacked onto the dash. But this is a 9-inch all-colored display. Below that, you have another thing I like, physical buttons for your climate control. So you have a physical button for your vents, your physical button for your temperature and your fan speed, and a physical volume button. So no more fiddling with small touch points on a touchscreen while driving. You have actual buttons. Over here, you have your traction control on-off button, your hill descent. To the right of that, you have your camera button. You push that, you can turn your cameras on even while you are parked or driving. Then to the right of that, you have your diff lock. So you can either lock your front diff or your rear diff, because this is a 4x4 after all. Below that, you have 2 USB ports. One is for power and one is for data. Next to that, you have a 12-volt power outlet, and below all of that, you have a wireless charging pad. So you can just rest your phone there and it will charge while you are driving. Next, you have your gear selector. Like most modern vehicles, it shifts by wire, so you're not mechanically connected to the transmission, which is why you have a button for park. So you have 3 things there. You have reverse, neutral, drive. Then you can go into manual mode and you can push P for park. So everything there is shift by wire. Next, you have this button here, which most modern vehicles have buried in a sub-menu on a touchscreen. It's an actual physical button. Just like how the older model Kia Ceratos had them, you push it and you can change the steering wheel feel. So you have light, like if you're in a parking lot, tight turns, you have normal, regular driving, and then you have sport. Sport just firms it up, it makes it feel more weighty, because some people don't like the light feeling of the electronic steering wheel, so they like a bit more weight. And I love the fact, again, it's an actual button. It's not buried in a sub-menu on the screen that you can't change while driving easily. Next, we have this button here, which activates a feature called Trail Turn Assist. Now, the P-series is a big van, and because of that, certain turns when you are on the trail may be a bit difficult. So you push this button, and what it does, it locks the inside rear wheel. So because you are now turning with a rear inside wheel that is locked, the van will tend to pivot around that and turn around that rear locked wheel, reducing your turning radius by up to 3 meters. It's important, use this on loose soil. Don't go about the place in a car park on asphalt. Doing this, you might damage something. All the way over to the right, you have your common buttons, electronic park and brakes and so forth. We all know what those buttons are. And in the center, you have a dial. You have 2 high, 4 low, 4 high. Then you have your different modes to set it based on snow, mud, rut. Now the base model also has a dial, but it doesn't have the turn assist feature, and it also doesn't have the 4 high, 4 low, and the other features that the dial has on the off-road model. In terms of space, you do have a center console. You open it, you have this thing that can either slide forward or back. It's a tray. In the forward position, it blocks off the cup holders, but you can push it back, revealing the cup holders, and you can also do this with the top closed. So you can close it up and have the cup holders either visible, or you can have this tray here to put maybe small change or your phone or something. You also do have a glove box. I keep forgetting to put this in the reviews and people keep asking, does the vehicle have a glove box? Yes, it has a glove box. It's not illuminated, but there's a glove box to fit whatever you fit in glove boxes. You also have an auto dimming mirror, so if it senses a bright light, it's going to dim it a bit so you don't get blinded while driving at night. Above that, you have a typical lighting controls. These seem to be LEDs. I could be wrong, but they seem to be LEDs. To the left and right, you have vanity mirrors, not illuminated, so just straight vanity mirrors. And if you realize one thing is missing, the typical shades holder that is normally found in this center part here, that has been moved to the right. I'm not sure how much more convenient it is being there rather than just reaching forward and up, but it has been moved to the right. And one thing GWM keeps doing that I really love, they put a USB port right here by the rearview mirror for dash cams. I mean, obviously you can power anything else with it, but it's convenient for dash cams. I wish other automakers would use their brains and put one up here as well in all vehicles. Come on. For your instrument cluster, you have an all digital setup. There are no analog gauges, no needles and dials. Everything is fully on the screen. And here you can see all the relevant information. Your tire pressure monitoring system, your speed, your fuel, warning lights, lane keeper assist. But while talking about screens, let's talk about the infotainment. Like I said prior, you have a large 9-inch color display, and I love the placement of it. It's not tacked onto the dash like a tablet style layout. It's down here built into the dash. Now, even though there are physical buttons for the climate control, you can turn it and you will see it show up on the screen here, and you can make adjustments using the screen, but we'll already do that. You have the buttons already. One thing I have noticed though, of all the GWM vehicles, this is the slowest screen. It's not slow by a large margin, but when you compare it to the Julian or the 8.6 or even the Aura, you touch things and you realize it takes a while to process. Now, it's not painfully slow. I wasn't there waiting for 1, 2, 3 seconds for things to load. But when you have used the other GWM products, you realize that this one is a bit slower. There's at least a 4-5 millisecond delay between pressing something and it actually happening. It's not slow, but it's slower than the others. But aside from that personal pet peeve, and it's really only a personal pet peeve to me because I've used the other GWM interfaces and this one is just slightly slower. But where it excels is the voice assistant. I especially love the fact that when you call it and you say, "Hi GWM," you don't have to wait for it to finish answer to say what you want. You can actually compound, "Hi GWM, raise the windows," or "raise the AC. Make AC colder."
The temperature in all areas is already at the coolest setting.
"Hi GWM, mute
What's
radio." You see that? Because for some people, time is money. So rather than waiting to hear it say "what's up" and then they hear the prompt, you just say what you have to right off the bat. "Hi GWM, lower all windows."
What's up? Opening.
But, as is typical with most voice assistants, they don't pick up on a Trinidad dialect 100% of the times. So sometimes you have to rephrase what you said in a different way so you can understand.
What's up?
Raise all windows. Yes.
Sorry, I don't know how to do that yet.
"Hi GWM,
What's up?
carry up all windows."
All areas closed.
So it's kind of like dealing with women. Sometimes you have to say the exact same thing you told them an hour ago, but in a different way before they get it. So in that case, it's not the assistant fault. I had to rephrase what I said. But lastly, let's touch on the 360 camera. It has all the usual modes, but my favorite is the fact that you can see both front wheels in a split view. For some reason, you can't see the rear wheels. Maybe I didn't find the button, but you can definitely see both front wheels and a top-down view of the vehicle. This is cool if you're parking in a tight space, and it's also cool if you're on the trails, you don't want to hit rocks and curb your rim. pretty cool. But you also have the straight back view, a wide angle straight back view. You have a top down view. You can also go into the menu and make the vehicle slightly opaque, completely invisible if you want to see just the empty space. And you can change the color. So maybe today you identify as brown, tomorrow you identify as blue or black or white. No problem. You go into this menu and you change between, I think it's 5 or 4 colors they have in total. But you get to change the color. But here comes the fun part, when I actually get to take the vehicle out on the road and see how it drives. Now I know the burning question in everybody's minds, what is powering the GWM P-series? Well, the P-series is powered by a 2-liter turbo diesel, putting out 120 kilowatts of power, which is roughly about 160 horsepower, and 400 newton meters of torque. And that torque is down low because it's a diesel vehicle. And it sends that power to the wheels using an 8-speed ZF transmission. Now, one thing to note about ZF, they are a legendary transmission maker. They have been making transmissions for the better part of 100 years, and their transmissions can be found in everything from high-end vehicles, fast vehicles, slow vehicles, vehicles that are made to go off-road, for example, this. So the ZF 8-speed transmission in this is not going to be an issue. Now, I know saying that, those Ford Ranger T6 and T7 men have left the chat, but say what, come back next time. The P-series can tow with a brake capacity of 2,250 kilograms. Obviously, if it's unbraked, which means you're using the brakes on the vehicle itself alone, it's going to go down from there. Another cool thing I like is the fact that the bonnet or the hood, whatever you want to call it, is on struts. So with the struts, you just open it and it lifts up. You don't have to like find the thing to hook it. Yeah, it makes life a bit easier, and I think every vehicle should come with these struts. I don't know why in 2024 we still have vehicles that you have to lift it up and find the hook to hook it up. But this is what the inside of the engine bay looks like. You have the battery way up high. You have your breather box pulling air from the snorkel. Everything is up high so you can go through water. I wouldn't recommend looking for flood waters, but if you do end up in a position where you have to go through some flood waters, remember, just about 3 feet in its current configuration and it should be good. In terms of performance, I know most people will hear 2-liter engine, big vehicle like this, because after all, for the past couple of years, we have been used to pickups coming with 2.2 at the least, 2.2, 2.5, 3 liters. But to hear a 2-liter turbo, you might think it's a bit underpowered, but it actually does perform. I won't say it's a rocket ship, but it does perform. For example, you are cruising along here, this vehicle is currently going, 84, 85, fluctuating, and I'm able to close the gap in no time. And this wasn't even me flowing it to pass the vehicle or anything. I was simply trying to get alongside it, so the side camera can get a side view of it driving. So when you are moving and you get down on the accelerator pedal, it does move. One thing to note though, I made this exact same mistake with the Tank 300, I made this exact same mistake with the Tank 500, and I made the exact same mistake doing the P-series. I am used to vehicles when you shift it into Tiptronic mode. If you rev it past a certain RPM, it will automatically shift one gear up. Automatically. Even though it's in Tiptronic mode, you put it in manual mode, it will shift one gear up. But these transmissions don't do that. If you took control, it's going to leave you with control. So for example, I'm pulling off here in first gear. Now you can use the paddle shifters at any moment, but I intentionally put it in manual mode to take a bit more control. But first gear ran out so quickly that by the time I am now processing the fact that we are moving, first gear was done. And that's how you end up hearing this revving here. Obviously, it won't over-rev the engine, but it also won't shift on your behalf. And I guess it makes sense because this vehicle is supposed to be able to go off-road. And the last thing you want is to go into a particular gear that you think is necessary for that particular terrain, and the computer thinks it knows best and shifts gear. So I can understand why they make it like that. Now, like you just heard, it's not hiding the fact that it's a diesel vehicle. You can hear that diesel engine working under any heavy acceleration. Now, I didn't floor it. It's a brand new vehicle. I don't know if I have to have a braking phase or what, so I didn't go heavy on the accelerator pedal. That's probably like about half, maybe a little bit more than half, 60% throttle. And we got up there in speed pretty quickly. Here I am about to test out the lane keeper assist feature. And obviously, like in all GWM vehicles, it works as expected. Just like in all other GWM products, it beeps at you once, then twice, then constantly to let you know, please put your hands back on the steering wheel. Don't feel like you just take your hands off the steering wheel and go and start texting. Keep your hands on the steering wheel, or at least wiggle the steering wheel once every 3-4 seconds. In terms of the 8-speed ZF transmission, it shifts smooth, but it's not quick. It's not a dual clutch transmission, so you won't get lightning quick shifts every time you hit the paddle shifters or lightning quick shifts under heavy acceleration, nor should you really expect it to. This is a vehicle that is meant to be put to work. You're pulling stuff, you're towing stuff, you're transporting stuff. Even if it's your family, it's not meant to be flying on the highway at 200 kilometers an hour. But at higher speeds, what I have noticed is the wind noise. And the wind noise is coming from one particular part of the vehicle because of one particular thing. This snorkel. It's not aerodynamic and the wind gets trapped below it. And when you are driving, you can hear the whistle. Now, if you are a passenger sitting anywhere else in the vehicle, you may not hear it as loudly. But because it's on the right-hand side and the driver is also on the right-hand side, as the driver, if you listen closely, you can hear the wind whistling. And it always sounds like you have a glass down. So me, I was constantly checking like, somebody had the window down. There's only 2 of us in the vehicle. But I narrowed it down and it's the snorkel. Finally, what is your service plan like and your service intervals and all of that? Well, you have a service plan of 5 years or 100,000 kilometers. Your first service comes at 5,000 kilometers. That is standard for most vehicles, or 6 months. So whichever comes first. After that, 10,000 kilometers or 12 months. As always, whichever comes first. And for your warranty, you have 5 years or 100,000 kilometers. Again, whichever comes first.